Hello everyone, welcome to our video. Today we are gonna talk about Helen's case. At first, Helen had a serious illness that resulted in total loss of vision and hearing, due to an illness that she developed at the age of 19 months. When she was 7 years old, her parents decided to look for an instructor of the Pekin's Institute for the Blind. Annie Sullivan was Helen's teacher. Actually, what seems to be more striking is the fact that thanks to Annie, Helen learned how to speak and how to understand other people's speech using the Tatoma method.
To talk about behaviorism, it's case to remember that for them, the learning is produced by reformment of stimulus response. Choose the behaviorism posed to ideas in their process, classical conditioning and operant conditioning. For the Helen's case, it's necessary to understand classical conditioning as the subject associates one event with another and they create a count of them. So, it means understandable that behaviorism with classical conditioning may be explained by Helen's case. By that moment, she began her classes with Annie Sullivan. As ideal to trace this idea is necessary learning different ideas. The first is that Annie Sullivan wants to create new behavior for her. The second is identified as Tadoma method, used for Helen's teacher as a stimulus that she pretends to create in Helen. Finally, as consequence of these stimulus, Helen's could acquire a language for developing communication by means of a Tadoma method.
In addition, it seems understandable that if we were to give this case to Piaget, he might modify his theory for this case. As an illustration, back in the days when Helen was born, she was beginning to develop her sensory motor stage. According to Piaget, the stage when babies start to understand the world through senses and actions. However, out of the blue, when the diagnoses come to her, this process is interrupted. Regarding this, if we were Piaget, we would ask ourselves if really knowledge might stop due to an illness, since her development stage learning is stopped. To sort out with that issue, firstly, we should notice that as she didn't develop that, so she began to behave aggressively owing to the fact that she couldn't express what she felt. Fortunately, when she met Annie's teacher, she started to learn what she had not learned in the previous stages, developing her understanding through language and mental image step by step. Later, it allows her to acquire knowledge through her own exploration.
The fact that Helen experienced vision and hearing loss would come in really handy for the social constructivism school to explain the importance of social interaction as an essential factor in the development of children's cognitive abilities, since the society or culture or social group to which a child belongs is what determines the circumstances of learning. It is defined as interacting with someone who has more knowledge will facilitate the person's learning, and this is precisely what happened to Helen when her tutor Annie helped her. It seems understandable that social constructivism would consider Helen as ideal to trace a modification of the learning resulting out of the interaction with a more knowledgeable other. In the hands of the Vygotskians, Helen would experiment with Annie's help to develop skills and understanding of the environment in which she lived in complete isolation. Annie can disgusting between what Helen knew and what she is not yet ready to learn, which is too difficult. In other words, between these two assumptions in the zone of proximal development, which is linked to what the student is capable of doing and helps and guides her to do it. And it tried to teach her manual language. The producer was always the same. She would put her in contact with an object and spill the word in her hand. Little by little, Helen began to understand this language and was motivated to learn new words. Her aggressiveness listened and she learned manners. Once she made this progress, she was taught by Anne to read Braille and also to read people's lips by touching them with her fingers, which later helped her learn to speak. Helen had to pay close attention to the vibrations that occurred in her teacher's throat each time she spoke a word, so that she could imitate them and learn to speak.